Hi everyone, David here again. Today we will be talking about other types of airspace. We already went through controlled, uncontrolled, and a special use airspace. So it's time to go into the final category. The first one that we're going to talk about is the national security airspace. Now, this is not exactly the same as a prohibited airspace because you can fly into this airspace. It's just advised that you don't want to get there. You will see it as a dash magenta circle, and it will have a box next to it where it will say, for reasons of national security, pilots are advised to fly at or above this altitude or at or below this altitude. Legally speaking, you don't need to comply with it. Now, do you really want to get there? No. Next one, we're going to talk about TRSAs. TRSAs are Terminal Radar Surveillance Areas. And what do? Basically, imagine an airport that is too busy to be a Class Delta, but perhaps not as busy to have all the environment that surrounds Class Charlie airspace. That's when a TRSA will be issued for an airport. They're slowly fading away from the national airspace system, but they're still there. And basically what they do is that there's an approach frequency per se that you can contact and or monitor. It is not enforced before you contact the tower. By this, they are already ready to sequence you in. You're gonna see it in our sectional charts with gray circles. The next one that we want to talk about is parachute jumping areas. These ones are really easy to see. In the sectional chart, you're going to see the symbol like a parachute. And basically what they're telling you is that there's parachute operations going down in that area and that they advise you to not fly immediately over that area, to basically fly around it for safety reasons for the people jumping out of the parachute and also for the airplane that carries the skydivers. Because once that airplane is completely empty, it's going to make an abrupt descent down to the airport again. Next one that we have is special flight rules area. These ones, you can see them. The two most famous one, I would say, is the one that's around the Hudson Corridor in New York City and the special flight rules area around Washington, D.C. This area is basically giving an option for people to fly, let's call it special type of airspace. Washington, D.C. is for safety reasons, of course, and the Hudson Corridor I'll call is more for tourism, where you need to do a special type of training that's usually completed through the FAA Wings program. Once you do this, you will receive that certificate and that will let you fly in that airspace. Once you do that course, you're gonna learn all the specific regulations that entail that area and what you need to do to stay safe. Our next and final two special use airspace include the wildlife areas. Wildlife areas are gonna be seen on the sectional chart with a solid blue line along with dotted blue lines. The most famous one, at least here in Florida, is the Everglades. Why is this relevant? The FAA advises you to fly at least 2,000 feet above the ground level, even though it's not mandatory. And finally, we have marine wildlife areas. These ones are not as common to see. We see them a lot in the West Coast, in the coast of California. And these ones are a little bit more tricky. Why? You're gonna see it with magenta lines, and basically they are enforced by NOAA for you to not fly in that area at a specific altitude because it can disturb with the wildlife and marine fauna that we have there. And if you actually get to fly in there, you're exposed to pay very expensive fines. So please be careful in your flight planning and make sure that you avoid these ones. And those are all the special use airspace and other airspaces that will be covered today. Thank you for joining me on this video series, and please stay tuned for our next series.